Anger, insult to injury. Anger is a huge problem. It's been coming up a lot lately in my life. Anger is the one emotion that seems to dominate almost everyone. And anger is what the Buddhists call a Klesha, or obscuration. When we have it, our mind is obscured or darkened by its presence. It dims our light, and we can no longer see clearly. We kind of stumble around in the darkness. And anger almost always has an object, something that we're angry about or at. Where there is an object of our anger, there's also always a subject, and that would be us. It is always our anger, not the object's anger. We're angry. And people and events do at times, injure us. And anger often arises from the injury. As the old saying goes, don't add insult to injury. In this case, becoming angry is the insult to our being injured. It never helps things. Anger's like pointing a flashlight in the dark. Wherever we point it, we see something, but it's only because we are shining the light and not vice versa. Anger is always our problem, and only we can do something about it. And for most of us at least, thank goodness anger is only temporary. Otherwise, we would never know we even have it. It comes and it goes. Unfortunately, when anger comes, it often creates karma, and that karma lasts a lot longer than the anger. When I get angry, I often think of that it's for a good reason. I have a good reason to be angry at my partner or my friend or whomever. While the actual truth is that there is never a good reason for anger. Anger by its very nature is unreasonable, beyond reason. I'm always anger's first victim, along with anyone unfortunate enough to be the object of my anger. I harm both myself and whomever I'm angry at. As they say, I burn my own mind stream. It's like one of those trick guns that shoots yourself when you fire it at others. We are always the main victim of our own anger. Perhaps the greatest problem with anger is that it's not that easy to get rid of. It's just too close to us, too fast to arise. We seldom see it coming. We can't catch it. The only antidote that I'm aware of for anger, and the Buddhists would agree with this, is awareness. If I can learn to be more aware in general, then I can sometimes catch it before it takes hold. My Dharma teacher, Khenpo Kata or Rinpoche, always tells this story. The time to stop the pig from entering the garden is when he sticks his nose through the picket fence. Whacking him on the snout then will keep him out. Once the pig gets in the garden, it's almost impossible to get him out. He just keeps running around, destroying everything while we chase him, trampling as we go. Developing awareness allows us to catch the anger as it arises and before it is fully aroused. Anyway, that's my plan, and it's part of why I study meditation. Let's talk about managing anger. I think we all know that there's no quick cure or silver bullet for ending anger. Of course, there are dozens of books and classes and groups and whatever that try to tell us how to deal with anger. And, here I am, I'm another one. However, not all of us like to read self-help books. We don't like to go to classes or work with groups. There is a more traditional method for working with anger. The Buddhists point out that removing the root of anger is very difficult, but it can be done. However, it takes both time and effort. And for many of us, it's really worthwhile to make that effort. as anger's not likely to just go away spontaneously from our lives. And anger management is all about awareness. Like most obscurations or kleshas, anger can take hold of us in a nanosecond. There's a moment when we give in and go with it, a split second. In that instant, if we can be aware enough, we can look directly at the anger, recognize it for what it is, and choose not to follow it, not to give in to it. We do have a choice, albeit for most of us who have no training, it's not really much of a choice at all. It happens just too quickly. So how can this awareness that we need be developed? Well, of course, there are many answers to this question, but the general answer is through meditation or mind practice, training. It's so unfortunate that the word meditation in our society has so many different meanings, and most of them are probably negative today. The New Age movement of the 1970s kind of ruined the world for these spiritual, quote-unquote, concepts, and sometime we're going to have to salvage that and restore it because we need a certain amount of spiritual training. Let me tell you what I mean by the word meditation. Perhaps that's going to help. Meditation refers to the various methods to help develop awareness of this present moment and awareness of the true nature of our mind. I don't care whether you learn it as a Buddhist or from some other religion or source. That's not important. I've only learned it from the Buddhist perspective because that's who taught me. But you can substitute your own method, of course. But to gain the awareness needed to manage anger requires practice. That's why all the Buddhists are always telling me that they have to do their practice. It's practice they are doing, not actual meditation itself. They're practicing meditation in order to build a habit of awareness that will just spontaneously function in the real, in the actual world by habit when something like anger suddenly arises. I'm sure I have to be one of the slowest people in the world in learning meditation. Maybe that's why I'm so preoccupied with it. It was so absolutely boring for the longest time that I used any excuse to get out of it, even when I did it. I chose every distraction that came my way instead of just doing it. So meditation for me was very hard to learn. It helped me to remember that what I was doing and to learn this that was just practicing. And I'm practicing to build or form a habit that will someday take over automatically. It's no different from learning fingering or scales on a guitar or a piano. It takes practice before you can just play the music. In meditation, it takes practice before we can actually meditate in life. Most of us are doing more practice in meditation than we are actually meditating. And I hope that idea is clear and that you think about it. Looking back on my own learning to meditate, it seems a lot like the old game of pick-up sticks that I played as a kid. After you ever so carefully picked through all the sticks, at the very end, there was nothing left. In practicing meditation, we learn to ever so carefully pick through our emotions and our mental attachments until there's nothing left to obscure our awareness. And then we're just left and we have the awareness. And that awareness is sharp enough to spot anger when it occurs, before we decide just to give up and go with it. It's a split-second decision that we can make if we are aware enough. So, learning to meditate is all about learning not to be distracted. Anger is just really one big distraction, but lesser distractions take our attention all day long. You would be surprised at how little pure, undistracted attention we have in a single day. It's like trying to hold water in our hands. It mostly runs out. Some of you have been my friends for many years, for a long time at least. If there's any trust on your part in me, then trust me when I say there's no single thing in my life that has brought me more returns than learning to meditate properly. This is not to say that learning meditation was easy for me. It was tough. For me, it was almost impossible. I came very close to giving it up so many times. If it were not for the suffering in my own life and the crunch of circumstances all around me, I would never have learned any. And of course, I'm still very much learning this. If any of you want to learn to meditate, there's all kinds of blogs here. I have free ebooks and so forth. Just go to spiritgrooves.net or dharmagrooves.com.